Identity, the Quest for Israel's Future, Emmanuel Shachaf, the author. Hello to you.
Hello, hello.
In our monthly, two-weekly update, we're very, very intrigued regarding the new barrier between Israel and Gaza. The IDF representatives showed that there is a tunnel preventive that, based on a ground and beton, that prevents the Hamas, any Palestinian soldiers, to enter the Israeli country. And you're seeing that, and you're feeling that we're safe again?
Of course we're not safe. Anybody who has learned anything about walls knows that they are, first of all, there to be circumvented in some way. It's just ludicrous if you think of it, if you look at this obstacle, which is huge, physically huge, imposing, and very expensive, 3.5 billion shekels.
3.5 billion shekels.
About 1 billion shekels. And I'm sure that there are ways to achieve a similar result with less money. And I'm talking obviously about a political approach. As a physical obstacle, you ask yourself, since 2004 until today, 17 years, there were 6 tunnel events, okay? 6 tunnel events in 17 years. Is that really warranted to build in such a gigantic obstacle to prevent 6 this kind of event at such a low rate? If you look at the picture, you're talking about a city of 2 million inhabitants. You're building a wall around the city. You either have the association of a prison or a ghetto. Okay, neither of them are positive associations in any way, and we'll have to deal with this. Okay, we'll have to explain why we're doing something like that. Okay, we know we can tell them yes because they want to tunnel, but there has to be some logic. There has to be some sense, common sense. Israel is a very inventive country. We have lots of ideas. I'm sure we could have come up with something a little better than that. And you can see that this is politics. It's more than anything. It's politics. It's telling the people we're keeping you safe, but not really doing something about it. Not doing what could be done about it.
So, from your perspective, these dangerous tunnel events that occurred, that Hamas soldiers or terrorists might get into any kind of kibbutz that is nearby the Gaza Strip, it's something that the ability to prevent is not something that you think worthwhile building this kind of wall, these kind of preventive tunnels.
As long as the reason for going underneath and attacking Israel exists, they will do it this way or in any other way. Okay, they'll find a way to do it.
It's very, very interesting. You're saying basically Israel cannot kill the hope.
No, they can't. They can't. I mean, the wall itself is pretty much it's a hope killer. Okay, I mean, anybody looking at the wall will say, oh, this is really this is not good. But on the other hand, what it does, it increases the will to do something, and to do something violent. And of course, the rockets will fly over it, and the balloons will fly over it, and it won't do very much to keep things calm. So we can do better than that, a lot better.
And also, Aleph Bet Yehoshua, who is one of the Israelis and Jewish biggest authors living today in Israel, he also shares an article in these days in Haaretz that explains that he also believes that maybe the one-state solution, the federation, is something that should be considered better than the two-state solution that is practically stuck.
Yes. Like I said in previous videos, we are moving towards a one-state solution. As it is economically, we're already in a one-state scenario, and reality is just calling out to have it to work this out in a one-state scenario. It's a paradigmatic shift, which is very, very difficult, and the question is whether we'll be able to do it without a major catastrophe. But that's the challenge of the federation movement, to try to bring this approach closer to the people and to the politicians. And you can see that even on the right wing in Israel, the thought has definitely crossed their mind. They don't usually have any proposals, but in panel discussions they all of a sudden raised the Nakba, the 1948 Nakba, as something to remind the Arabs of, which means that they're thinking of 1948, not 1967. Two states is a 1967 scenario. 1948, Nakba, talking about the Nakba in 1948 means that one state is on the table, okay? And if it's on the table, it has to be dealt with in a way that we can live with it, we, the Jews of Israel, can live with it, but also the Palestinians can live with it. And that's the real challenge. The real challenge is to do that. We had some discussions with Palestinians here in several sessions, and it's clear that the one-state solution is much preferred over two states or confederation. It's much easier to come to an agreement.
In what way?
Because both people in the end want pretty much the same kind of construct as a state. Okay, so there's no worries about the borders. Everybody can go everywhere. There's no worries about the civil rights. There are issues like the name of the state, like the symbols of the state, the concept of a Jewish state or a Palestinian state, which will not be the same. There will be other elements which will have to be discussed. But the framework is a much simpler framework, and we'll get there. The question is how long it will take us and how much blood will flow until then.
And you're talking and mentioning the name of the one state, the federational state. So maybe Abraham tent.
Yes, there is Abrahamic Federation or Abraham's tent. There are several possibilities. Once you start, looking for names, there are names which appear to be agreeable. But of course, after having Israel for 74 years, to come up all of a sudden with a new name is a major thing. But I think if we get to that stage where we start arguing about the name, we're in good shape.
And you're meeting for the last days not only members of the Knesset and the representative, but also the representative of the European Union.
Yes.
Based in Israel, that they are dealing with managing this conflict.
Yes, the European Union has people here who are trying to keep tab on what's going on in the peace process, and they take an interest. They of course are bound to the political constraints of their governments, which call for a two-state solution. But they are clearly aware of the fact that alternatives have to be discussed. So we talk with them. They're interested. They talk with all parts of Israel's civil society, and I hope that the Federation will make an impact on them too.
If there is one message from this report that you would like to emphasize for people that are watching this over Facebook, YouTube, what message would it be from what you're feeling that is happening right now here in the Middle East?
I think we are clearly moving to a one-state scenario. I think more and more people are beginning to realize it. It's very difficult for them to talk about it because it's such a big paradigmatic switch, especially for the Jewish population. And it's important to put on the table realistic approaches how to deal with this, because the moment you do that, and I hope the Federation is one of those, okay, it'll be easier for people to take the step and speak about it and verbalize it and lose their fear of it, because obviously we're talking about major fears of the population, and that's always difficult to deal with.
Emmanuel Shachaf, for being part of this community of the Federation over Facebook.
Over Facebook, mainly.
The quest for Israel's future identity, and there are also lectures and events that are taking place with you and the members of this movement. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.